Hi everyone, Shelley here. Hope you've been having a great time out in the field birding or wildlife photography. Today I'm going to talk about some of the useful things that I have in my car, and one of them is this netting, and it's I bought this from an army surplus store many years ago when I was in Darwin, and my husband and I went into this army surplus store and I got this netting, and it was quite long, but I actually cut it in half and gave half to my brother. But in hindsight, I think to keep the longer net would be good. And I use that sometimes to throw over me when I'm laying down in the field and I just want to have that little bit of extra cover, so as to speak, and I much prefer something very light for myself. I struggle when I use anything that fully covers me and I haven't got that field of vision. I can do it if I want to, but it's not my favourite way of photographing. I like to see what's going on around me if I can. One of the things in the field is keeping perfectly still is very important if you want to get those hard to get birds. But something like this is really good, and I find it really does help me in the field. Something else that I have, camouflage gear. I often get asked about that, and you've probably seen it in my videos. I've gone out of focus, sorry about that, the camera's not very good. In the field, you would notice sometimes when in some of my videos, you'll see me with this camouflage jacket on, and it's a very light nylon, cheap one that I got online, and I will put the link down below if you want to have a look at it. And I'm not affiliated with it or anything, I don't get any kickbacks, but I will put that down there so you can go to it if you wish to have a look and you could purchase it. So this, it's so light, it's very comfortable, and I wear it a lot, not because I'm trying to be in camouflage, it's just something that keeps the insects off me sometimes, or sometimes it's just a little bit of extra warmth, usually first thing in the morning in the early shoots. I often forget that I have it on, and you know, camouflage is a very, can be very topical, but I like using it, and I use it, so, and it helps me to get the birds. I think that when you're in your local areas and you become part of that environment and the birds know who you are, that you could probably get by without it and get quite close to the birds because they're habituated to people in the area, so it's entirely up to you. But I often forget it, and people come up to me and say, there's Shelley, there she is in her camouflage, and it's because I just forget that I've got it on. But it is useful. I can blend in very easy, and I remember one time I had that on and I was laying down in some bush, and people know my car, and one of my fellow birders saw my car there in the morning, and I heard him walk past, but he didn't even see me. And then he went back and he hopped in his car and he went, and I was actually photographing the white-fronted chats at the time, and so I came down really early the next morning, parked my car at the same spot and went back, and he came again and walked down, and he got worried because he thought that something must have happened to me. And I actually came out of the bush and he went, oh, you're there. He said, I thought something had happened to you. He said, I was just going to go and, you know, find out if everything was okay. So, yeah, so it's quite funny. It's nice to know that people do notice you around and care. But, yeah, that's, I thought that was quite an interesting story. But so this camouflage jacket has been really useful. And that's mainly... Oh, sorry, I just got them down on the floor. So another thing I have for the estuary is just this light mat, and I can just fold it, and when I'm walking along to get somewhere closer on the shoreline, one of the things you have to watch is the mat will disturb the birds and they will fly off. So what I do is I put it down very carefully and sort of trying just to get it out without disturbing the birds. And you can see it's not very big, but it's a great place for me to put my camera on the ground without worrying about getting mud or anything on it, and I can just sort of keep myself a little bit dry. And if I'm really seriously into doing a lot of like laying on the shoreline and sort of creeping around in the mud, I will wear wet weather type gear. I do have waterproof pants and jacket that I can put on. I just find they can be noisy when I'm walking or moving around, so I'm really careful what I do there. So anything to get the bird, you know. And then I have this brush in my car and I just brush everything off it. And I've got a softer brush that I use just on my camera to get the dust or mud or anything. And when I get home, I will wipe my camera down with a wet cloth and then dry it gently with a towel. And I try and do that every time I'm out in anywhere near water or mud, especially around the estuary, because there is a little bit of salt as well. So you do need to be careful in that. And I'm always trying my best to look after my gear and get good life out of them. I am not afraid to go into areas with my camera. I just, you know, I really want to get those photos. So I will maybe do things that some other people would do, but I've really have had good life out of my cameras, and it's really your decision what you want to do. When I was photographing the fairy turds, it's down on the beach and the sand was flying around anywhere, and that can damage your camera very easily, and you really do need to wash it as soon as you get home, get all that sand out. Quite often I have my blower in my car and I'll blow that out. It's good to really look after your gear to make it last, because, you know, cameras are not cheap these days, so even though it's easy to go out and buy one if you've got the money hanging around in your cupboard or something. So yeah, that's what I do. There goes the great egret making a noise as he goes, and I think he's just going around to the other side a little bit. And the spoonbill's still here, and you can see the beautiful patterns of the water, and he's going to walk past me. I've had a glorious morning, absolutely glorious, and you can see him walking past us. These birds are beautiful, so nice to photograph. So I'm sitting on the grassed area here because there's a buff-banded rail along here that's coming out of the grass and feeding, and he'd jump back in when the people would be walking by. I used my screen to focus and to record and also to take images. The reason I did that, and rather than lying down, was I wanted to have a good view of all around me. And he was coming out a fair bit. He'd run back in when someone would go past and then come back out again. And he wasn't bothered by my presence, as long as I didn't do too much movement. So it was quite good to get some images, and you will see some of the images and videos that I took. And the one where he was partly hidden by the grass is one of my favourite images of a buff-banded rail.